yesterday we left it for at first stanza, and today we are going to do from second stanza. Okay, so you are just going to read the stanza, this is stanza. Okay, just read it from here.
Father, Father, my life give I gladly to thee. Deep rivers ahead, high mountains above. My soul wants only your love, but fears gather round like wolves in the dark. Have you forgotten my name? O Lord, come to your child. O Lord, forget me not.
Okay. Do you remember I gave you some task?
Or to search about job.
Yes. So have you done?
I remember searching it, and now I've forgotten it. I only remember stuff for like 10 minutes.
Okay, so when are you going to tell me?
Let me see if I wrote it down. If they were saying like Job is known as like a prophet in Islam, and it was kind of similar to like in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of mentioned stuff like he would remain, stuff like his daily prayer, but I didn't know if that was like the thing. They were just saying son of Noah and stuff, but I couldn't tell what was Christianity and the Islam.
Okay, so would you okay, so you know the basic idea, like who was he in if I'm asking just about Islam, so who was he in from Islamic point of view?
Oh, prophet of God.
Prophet. Okay, so have you do you know his name or the name which we gave him in Islam?
Oh, I've heard of it. You?
Hazrat Ayub. Okay, so what was his story about?
That I didn't have enough time to say.
Okay, you are going to tell me this in next lecture, okay?
Okay.
Note it down on your copy. Done?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this is the second stanza. Okay, in the second stanza, it's like, Father, Father, my life give I gladly to thee, deep rivers ahead, high mountains above, my soul wants only your love. But fears gather round like wolves in the dark. Have you forgotten my name? O Lord, come to your child. O Lord, forget me not. Okay, this is the second stanza, and in this stanza, the speaker she is addressing, or here we can see like speaker's address shifts to a paternal figure, emphasizing the intimate relationship with God as a father. The repetition of words like father, father intensifies the emotional plea, conveying a sense of filial devotion and dependency. Okay, so here you can see the word filial. It's something related to offspring. You can call it related to daughter or related to son, or you can say like it's something connected with the way children behave towards their parents, right? So here this thing these words, these are conveying a sense of filial devotion and dependency. The speaker expresses a profound willingness to surrender their life to God with the phrase, my life give I gladly to thee. This sacrificial offering suggests a deep commitment to the divine, and the choice of the word gladly implies a willing submission rather than a reluctant sacrifice. And then here, the imagery in deep rivers ahead, high mountains above evokes a metaphorical journey filled with challenges. The deep rivers and high mountains symbolize the formidable obstacles in the speaker's life, suggesting a difficult path ahead. The speaker's soul, however, desires only the love of God amidst these trials. The metaphorical portrayal of fears gathering like wolves in the dark adds a vivid and poignant layer to the emotional landscape. The comparison to wolves conveys a sense of menace and vulnerability, portraying fear as a tangible and threatening presence in the speaker's life. And in the concluding lines of the stanza, like these intensify the plea for God's attention and protection. The repetition of, O Lord, accentuates the urgency of the speaker's request as they implore God not to forget their name and to come to their aid. The emotional weight of the lines, O Lord, come to your child, O Lord, forget me not, resonates with a sense of desperation, revealing the speaker's yearning for divine reassurance and guidance. This stanza encapsulates themes of devotion, surrender, and the profound need for divine intervention in the face of life's daunting challenges. Okay. Then there is stanza number 3. Okay, read the stanza.
You said to lean on your arm, and I'm leaning. You said to trust in your love, and I'm trusting. You said to call on your name, and I'm calling. I'm stepping out on your word.
Okay, first tell me in your own words, then we are moving ahead. What do you understand from these lines?
Um, well, she's talking about how, like, leaning on your arm and trusting. She's telling, like, God said to do all of this, and now I'm in need of it, and I'm helping, so please, like, help me.
Hmm.
Like, I'm calling your name, and it's your word, and I'm trusting it, so now help me in time
Hmm.
when I need it.
Hmm. Okay. And this thing also, it's also showing the obedience, like the obedience of God. If when she is saying, you said to lean on your arm, so in the second line, it is showing like obedience, like whatever it was the command, whatever the God commanded her, so she is just obeying her as it is. Okay. Okay, in this stanza, the speaker intimately engages with divine guidance and reassurance, emphasizing the reciprocal nature of the relationship with God. The direct address to God includes a series of affirmative statements that echo God's previous instructions. The repetition of the phrase, you said, underscores the reliability and authority of God's words in the speaker's life. The imperative nature of these statements reflects a sense of divine command, and the speaker obediently responds to each directive. The simplicity of the language adds a controversial quality, creating an intimate and personal connection between the speaker and God. Moreover, the actions described in the stanza, such as leaning on God's arm, trusting in His love, and calling on His name, represent acts of faith and submission. The physical and emotional imagery of leaning on God's arm conveys a reliance on divine support, while trusting in God's love signifies a surrender to the benevolence of the divine. The act of calling on God's name becomes a powerful form of communication and a demonstration of the speaker's reliance on on divine intervention. Then the culmination of these actions is expressed in the affirmative declaration, I'm stepping out on your word. signifying a decisive and bold move based on faith in God's promises. This line encapsulates the central theme of the poem, emphasizing the transformative power of faith and the willingness to take action guided by divine instruction. So, through this stanza, Angelou portrays the speaker's deep engagement with God's guidance, highlighting themes of obedience, trust, and active faith. The speaker's willingness to act upon God's words reflects a profound commitment to the divine and serves as a testament to the transformative potential of unwavering faith in navigating life's challenges. Okay, okay, read this stanza.
You said you'd be my protection, my only and glorious savior, my beautiful rose of Sharon, and I'm stepping out on your word. Joy, joy, your word. Joy, joy, the wonderful word of the Son of God.
Okay, the speaker delves deeper into their relationship with God, emphasizing the promises of divine protection and salvation. The speaker recalls specific assurances made by God, stating, "You said you would be my protection, my only and glorious Savior." The use of possessive pronouns such as my creates a personalized and intimate connection, reinforcing the idea that these promises are individually tailored to the speaker. The descriptors glorious Savior and the beautiful Rose of Sharon convey a sense of divine magnificence and beauty, elevating God to a position of ultimate grace and splendor in the speaker's eyes. Then the repetition of the phrase, "and I'm stepping out on your word," reiterates the central theme of the poem, the speaker's unwavering commitment to act based on their faith in God's promises. This line serves as a pivotal moment in the stanza, signifying the speaker's decisive and bold step forward, guided by the divine word. The subsequent repetition of "joy, joy, your word" amplifies the emotional resonance of this decision, underscoring the joyous nature of the speaker's trust in God's word. The use of the term Son of God in the closing line elevates the divine authority and reinforces the sacredness of the promises being embraced. And then in the last line, the stanza captures a moment of profound affirmation and commitment, where the speaker not only recalls God's assurances but actively embraces them with joy and conviction. The language employed by Angelou conveys a sense of reverence and celebration, emphasizing the transformative power of faith and the profound joy that comes from entrusting one's journey to the divine. Okay, stanza number 5. Read it. Read this stanza. Yes.
You said that you would take me to glory, to sit down at the welcome table, rejoice with my mother in heaven, and I'm stepping out on your word.
Okay. In this stanza, the speaker's focus shifts towards the divine promise of ultimate glory and reunion in the hereafter. The speaker recounts God's assurance, stating, "You said that you would take me to glory." This line introduces the concept of divine transcendence and the ultimate destination of the speaker's spiritual journey. The notion of being taken to glory suggests a heavenly realm or a state of divine elevation beyond the earthly challenges faced by the speaker. The imagery of sitting down at the welcome table conveys a sense of hospitality and acceptance in the divine realm. The welcome table symbolizes a place of belonging and celebration, reinforcing the idea that the speaker's journey is ultimately leading to a joyous and inclusive destination. The mention of reuniting with the speaker's mother in the heaven adds a deeply personal and emotional layer to the stanza. The prospect of rejoicing with a loved one in the afterlife enhances the spiritual significance of the journey, portraying it as a reunion with those who have passed on before. And the repetition of the phrase, and I'm stepping out on your word, reaffirms the speaker's commitment on it on faith in the face of the divine promise of glory and reunion. This line serves as a bridge between the anticipation of heavenly joy and the speaker's present actions, highlighting the transformative power of faith, not only as a source of solace, but as a guiding force in shaping one's current actions and decisions. Through this stanza, Angelou weaves together themes of divine promise, spiritual transcendence, and the prospect of joyous reunion, creating a poignant reflection on the ultimate destination of the speaker's faith filled journey. Last stanza. Okay.
Into the alleys, into the byways, into the streets and the roads and the highways, past the rumor mongers and midnight ramblers, past the liars and the cheaters and the gamblers. On your word, on the wonderful word of the Son of God, I'm stepping out on your word.
Okay. So, here in this concluding stanza, the speaker embarks on a vivid and metaphorical journey, symbolizing the challenges and complexities of life. The repetition of prepositions into the alleys, into the byways, into the streets and the roads and the highways creates a rhythmic cadence that mirrors the varied paths and experiences encountered in life. Okay. So, here the word which I just read, it's cadence. This is something like the regular rise and fall of a voice, something related to voice. Okay. So here, okay, these locations serve as a metaphors for the different facets of the speaker's journey, ranging from hidden, intimate spaces to the more public and traveled thoroughfares. The mention of navigating through spaces, past rumors mongers and midnight ramblers, past the liars and the cheaters and the gamblers, introduces a cast of characters representing societal challenges and moral pitfalls. This evocative language paints a vivid picture of the trials and tribulations faced by the speaker on their spiritual journey. The repetition of the phrase, on your word, underscores the unwavering reliance on divine guidance, suggesting that the speaker's navigation through life is anchored in the principles and promises laid out by God. The closing lines reinforce the connection to the divine, culminating in the resolute affirmation, I'm stepping out on your word, echoing the theme that has resonated throughout the poem, the transformative power of faith and the act of moving forward in trust. Through this final stanza, Angelou encapsulates the speaker's resolve to navigate life's challenges with unwavering faith, the use of metaphorical spaces, vibrant characters, and the consistent reliance on divine guidance contributes to a powerful and visually evocative conclusion. The poem as a whole serves as a poignant exploration of faith, resilience, and the transformative journey toward a promised spiritual destination. Here you can see the important points, like the central idea, central message of the poem is that like faith transforms adversity and it guides resilience. Okay, then there are themes like celebration, dreams, identity, journey, relationships, and spirituality. The speaker can be Maya herself, or we can say like it's unknown because we really don't know like whether she herself is the speaker of this poem. Then there are the emotions evoked. Like another term which I told you, like the semantic field of emotions, that is the compassion, confidence, enjoyment, faith, hope, and resilience. Then there is a poetic form. Okay, so here at the end, we are just going to see the poem analysis take. So here in this analysis of the poem, like I feel that the repeated affirmation signify not a steadfast faith, but a desperate attempt to mask doubt. The metaphorical journey, rather than symbolizing resilience, represents a futile escape from personal stagnation. I also feel might take challenges the perceived uplifting nature of the poem and may spark discussion on hidden vulnerabilities beneath apparent spiritual strength and the multifaceted nature of human experience within the context of faith. Okay. Um, what is your viewpoint on this thing? Whether it is this whole poem is showing us a steadfast faith, or there is something else like as I have written here. Just your opinion.
Can you repeat the last part of your question, please?
Okay, I'm just saying, like here as I have written here, like the we can take it in two different ways. So one way, like as I have told you, like we have described it, like this poem is just showing a steadfast faith in the God. Another thing, like this is not actual, it's not faith, but it is something like we are actually we are doubting on God's like whether we have trust in God or not, or whether God is closer to us, whether He is giving us those all things, or whether we can expect these all things. So, is there any kind of doubt, or there's a steadfast trust, like we are trusting on God?
I believe it's a sense of both because she keeps on repeating like I'm calling on you, and because of this, like you like I'm calling. So sometimes if she says it's too much, like too many times, you could be like, is she doubting and just wishing
Hmm.
that she felt that he cared, but he isn't? Or sometimes you could be like, she's calling on him so much that she believes him, like
Hmm. Hmm.
repetitively.
Okay, right. So you can take it in both ways, okay? And when in exams, when you are going to write on different poems, like for example, as we are discussing this poem right now, so you can give your both opinions, right? Whatever you feel about the poem, so you can give your different viewpoints on it, right? Okay. So here we are moving to another poem. Okay. So this is the okay. This is another poem, and the name of the poem is A Kind of Love, Some Say. You're just going to read this poem, and then we are going ahead. Yes.
Some kind of love, some say. Is it true that the ribs can tell the kick of a beast from a lover's fist? The bruised bones recorded while the sudden shock had impact, then swollen lids, sorry eyes, spoke not of lost romance but her. He often is confused, its limits are in zones beyond itself, and this will not learn that love by nature exacts a pain unequaled on the rack.
Okay. So here before reading the poem, to get the most of the poem, take each image as Angelou represent it and consider it on its own terms before moving on to the next. Like she speaks of abuse, torture, suffering, and love all mixed together in an incredibly painful cocktail that may be hard for some readers to consider. Right? So here, if we just see this, there are a few terms which we are okay. Okay, here. Like this, the title of the poem, it represents like victims of abusive relationships, right? And as I show, the ribs can tell the kick of abuse from our lover's fist, the bruised wounds recorded well, the sudden shock, the hard impact, then swollen lids, sorry eyes spoke not of lost romance but hearts. Hate often is confused, its limits are in zones beyond itself. And Ceres will not learn that love by nature exacts a pain unequaled on the wreck. So here were the first highlighted words, like here, lover's fist. These words are showing us are the example of an oxymoron. Like oxymoron is the thing when you are going to when you are comparing two different things at one time, when these things, these words and ideas are contradictory to each other, or they are just opposite of each other, right? Oh, like you can also see the contradiction between the words, like there is lover and fist. Okay, when there's lover, so there should not be fist, or if there is fist, so there shouldn't be lover, right? So a kind of contradiction in the words. But overall, when you are just going to read the poems, you will see a kind of contradiction in the whole idea of the poem, right? So here we are talking about love, but at the same time we are talking about hatred, right? So that's why we are calling it the usage of oxymoron here. Then here these highlighted lines, like bones recorded well, the sudden shock, the hard impact. The swollen and then swollen lids, sorry, as spoke not of romance, of lost romance, but hard. Okay. Here you can see like this thing, like she has experienced this thing, or this thing has happened many times before, and the body of the author, the speaker, is used to it, right? And then here we can also see the enjambment in these lines. Like enjambment shows the process of beating, and cruel, like something which is cruel and sudden, right? And then here the last line, which is highlighted here, you can see like when we are talking about like that solemn lids, sorry, I spoke not of lost romance but heart. This is just giving us the idea, like there is love is not there, but like love exists no more, but there is the abusive relationship only. Okay. And then here, hate often is confused. Its limits are in zones beyond itself, and Ceres will now learn that love by nature exacts a pain unequaled on the rake. Like this thing here, you can see the word love, like capitalized love emphasizes the impact of abuse, right? And then we are saying here, like why we are saying like this is emphasizing on the impact of abuse, like we can say like the person, the abuser, he actually doesn't understand the love. Okay, he doesn't know what love is. Okay, then here the word wreck, the usage of the word wreck, like it's a torture device and psychological pain. This line means like it is showing psychological pain, like pain in a relationship that hurts more than the physical pain, right? Here I have written the definition of oxymoron. And I have also mentioned here a few examples of the words. Like an oxymoron is a figure of speech that combines contradictory words with opposing meanings, like old news, right? And deafening silence and organized chaos. So these words you can see like there is a kind of contradiction in the words. And here oxymorons may seem illogical at first, but in context they usually make sense. Okay, here we are. Okay, so this poem explores the many different emotions from love to hate that relationships can evoke. She also alludes to how complicated these emotions become when abuse is part of the equation. The central idea is that, like, this is an incredible emotional poem that contends with emotions of love and hate in a unique way. Then, if we see the poem, like, it explores uh, okay, Angelou's a kind of love, some say, explores the sometimes contrasting and sometimes complementary emotions of love and hate. She asks readers to consider how often the two fall together and how that makes each other complicated to understand. Okay, contrasting, this is showing a kind of juxtaposition. Okay, then here there is a summary. Like, it's a painful emotional poem about abuse. In the first line of the poem, the speaker begins by comparing getting kicked by an animal to being punched by a lover. The body knows the difference between these two different types of pain, and the latter is certain to hurt far worse. She goes on to describe how abusive relationships can make it difficult to tell the difference between hate and love, and how the former is more powerful. It is often hard to understand. The poem ends with a poet asserting that extreme pain, such as that which is the result of love, is unparalleled in the world of physical pain. Okay, the structure and form of the poem, like, it's a single stanza poem that is written in free verse. This means that the poet chose not to utilize a specific rhyme scheme or a metrical pattern in the lines. For example, the first few lines end with tell a bruised and well. The poet chose instead to write a natural sounding rhythm that makes readers more like someone is discussing love and its pain than reciting a poem. Okay, then there are literary devices like caesura. This can be seen when the poet inserts a pause into the middle of a line of verse. For example, hate often is confused. It's like the line was ending on this word. Then there is enjambment. This occurs in the first few lines when the poet cuts off the phrases before natural stopping points. Like this thing we can see at the starting of the stanzas. Okay, personification. This can be seen when the poet describes love as extracting something. It does something in the poem that only humans are capable of. Then there is imagery. It occurs when the poet imbues lines with highly descriptive words, for example, hard impact, then swollen lids. Sibilance. This is seen in the repetition of the S sounds in sudden shock and sorry eyes spoke not. Like the repetition of the S sound will be called as sibilance. Okay, just read this stanza.
Some kind of love, some say. Is it true the ribs can is it true that the ribs can tell the kick of a beast from a lover's face, the bruised bones recorded well, the sudden shock, the hard impact, then swollen lids, sorry eyes spoke not of lost romance but heart.
Okay, so in these lines, in the first lines of the poem, the poet begins by asking a rhetorical question. He poses a question without expecting to get an answer from the reader or whomever the speaker is directing the question to. She asks if it's true that the reps are capable of deciphering a kick from a beast, like a horse, from the impact of a lover's fist. This statement opens the poem in an incredibly powerful way. It sets the scene for the poet's discussion of how much more powerful love can be than traditional physical pain. In this case, the ribs feel a punch from a lover far more than they would a kick from an animal that has no malice in its actions. In the next few lines, the poet describes how the bones record an example or personification, the impact of a lover's fist differently. The pain comes with other things like swollen eyelids and sorry eyes. These things are not or should not be connected to love. They are connected to hurt, the poet says. And then the reader can imagine the swollen eyes of someone who is being physically abused by their partner and sorry eyes of the person doing the abusing. And they try to make up for what they've done, right? Like Anglo implies to do it again soon after. Like this thing, that this relationship continues. Okay, read these last lines.
Hate often is confused, its limits are in zones beyond itself, and sadist will not learn that love by nature exacts a pain and a quote on the rack.
Okay, so this is the meaning of the word sadist, a person who derives pleasure, especially sexual gratification, from inflicting pain or humiliation on others, right? And then we are going to see the meaning of this rack here in this explanation. The poet begins the second part of the poem by saying that hate is often confused. Now she's suggesting that when one is in a terribly difficult situation like an abusive relationship, it's hard to manage the vast array of feelings you are presented with on a day-to-day basis. There's love, there's pain, there's a great deal of hatred. The poem concludes with the poet suggesting that sadists are those who take pleasure from other people's pain, such as an abuser harming their partner, will never know a key thing about love. It exacts a pain, she says, that is unparalleled on the wreck. Here the poet refers to the wreck, a medieval torture implement that was used to rip individuals' bodies apart. This extreme physical pain does not equal the pain that love can inflict upon someone. This is the main some important information. Like central message is love and hate. Like these both are connected. Themes are love and relationship, speaker unknown, and these are the emotions evoke anger, fear, and sadness. Poetic form is free verse, and there's the time period when the poem was written. Okay, the poem analysis take Angelou leans on different emotions throughout this poem, including love and hate. The later she notes is often confused. She is trying to focus in on the way that hate is an emotion that can be confusing and which can be confused with other emotions like passion or dedication. She is often alluding to the confusion someone who is being abused might experience when the person who claims to love them acts as though they hate them, right? So, this is the end of the poem. Okay, so we are going to do another poem in our next class.